Have you ever started your design review like this? Hi, so this week I've been working on adding tasks to admin projects, and I came to the conclusion that we should prioritize inline editing. It's not the best, but it's okay, we'll fix it. Today we'll talk about how to prepare for and how to conduct a design review or a design critique. I'll show you the techniques I use to get ready for the presentation that builds common understanding and helps you gather high-quality feedback. Design reviews are a must-have when working in a UX design team. You need to share your work early and often to get to the best results. Designers need to be great communicators. I always say that great work does not speak for itself when it comes to UX design, whether you're presenting for your team or sharing your work in a portfolio. Communication is key. You can create the greatest design, but if you cannot articulate why it meets the goals and your decision-making process, it will not be understood correctly and considered. Throughout this video, I'll be using the term design review, not a design critique. It's exactly the same process. I just prefer the term design review because it suggests collaboration. Design critique, on the other hand, suggests that you need to defend your designs, and it shouldn't be your main focus. There are a couple of ways of performing the design review. A synchronous session with other team members, an async first review using Looms, documents, and Figma comments, or a mix of both techniques where you share the video walkthrough before the meeting and then you use the whole time during the meeting for discussion. No matter the technique, you need to approach preparation and the presentation systematically so you can achieve common understanding and gather feedback that will actually help you improve your designs, not only confuse you and generate more work for you. I'll walk you through my process step by step. The preparation starts way before the presentation or hitting the record button. You need to think about what you're going to say, what the objections are going to be, prepare the smooth flow through the visuals, and think about what kind of feedback you're asking for. Let's go one by one through those points right now. First, you need to prepare the flow or the narration. When presenting your work, you need to focus on telling the story. It should be easy to follow the narration. You need to be to the point and present with confidence and without any vague statements. First, prepare the visuals that you would like to show. Make sure that they are in the form of presentation or a prototype, even if you're not showing the interactions. The idea is that you need to present them full screen to avoid showing the Figma file because it feels messy and a little disorganized. Then write down the points that you would like to cover about every screen. Keep this document at hand when presenting so that you are covering all the details and you have some help when you lose your train of thought. Lastly, get rid of distractions. Remove unnecessary elements, outdated details, and incorrect texts. Make sure that nothing steers feedback in the wrong direction and that you don't have to say things like, please don't pay attention to this detail because it's not updated yet. The next thing to do is to predict questions and objections. It's a must-have step for me, and I see many designers omit it, and I've been skipping it for a long time as well. Basically, the idea is that I'm predicting questions and objections that may arise about every single solution that I'm presenting. It helps me prepare for those questions so that I can answer them more accurately, and it also helps me become a better designer because I'm often detecting mistakes in my designs when preparing for the design review. I'd like to show you how this preparation would look like in reality. Let's imagine that I'm a designer at Asana and I'm presenting at the timeline view designs. Of course, in reality, it is an implemented product, but for the sake of this example, let's imagine that those are just designs. If I were to prepare for this review, I would go decision by decision and start questioning the choices I made, top to bottom, left to right. First, I see the Add Task button that also has Add Section and Add Milestone options available. For sure, someone during the design review would ask about why we're not just using the general add button if we have multiple options there, and this is a valid question. I need to respond with something convincing. So for example, I could say that during the usability testing, the results shown that people are not associating the general add button with adding a task, and add section and add milestones options are just secondary for them. Another big area that I will focus on are the controls above the timeline. So all of them are styled the same way and there is no visual grouping there. So it suggests that all of them have the same nature, which is not necessarily true. We have the Today button that brings us to today's date. We have some sorting and filtering options then. Then we have the Unscheduled button that shows us unscheduled tasks. Then we have the public link popover, and then we have the menu with additional options. I'm sure that during the design review, someone would say that all the options look the same and they would suggest grouping the sorting options together and differentiating the Today's button visually. And I would need to prepare my answer for this question. I assume it would be simplicity, or consider changing the designs. And lastly, I would focus on the timeline itself. How we display the subtasks is interesting. Probably there will be some questions about them being open or closed by default. There is also an edge case where the subtask can be outside of the time frame of the main task. I would need to explain why we allow this edge case instead of just making the main task longer. Predicting those questions should be easy because you've made conscious choices during your design process. It's also a good practice to ask for a peer review from one of your colleagues before the design review. They will for sure ask a lot of those questions as well. To close this part, I would like to share the mindset change that I've implemented that has helped my design reviews immensely. Basically, I treat them as if those were presentations of take-home tasks during the interview process. By doing that, I get rid of all the assumptions about my team's thinking, and I also don't expect them to understand some things automatically or be easy on me. Now let's move on to the main part, so the review itself. There are 3 steps that are important to take here. First, set the scene. You need to provide necessary context for the group so it doesn't feel like you're jumping straight into the middle of the presentation. Define the scope of this presentation, make it clear what you will cover and what is outside of the scope. Explain where you are in the process, whether it's the first exploration or you're ready for a final design review. It's a good time to manage expectations regarding the design fidelity and the stage of the project. State the problems and the goals. Align with the big picture, for example with high-level company goals or the KPIs known to the whole team. Mention the technicalities, who works on this project, where to look for designs and how to leave feedback. You'll avoid confusion and people interrupting your flow to ask those questions. Step number 2 is to articulate design decisions. After setting the scene, it's time to present the core content. You need to demonstrate your design solutions, highlight the features and interactions, and show how they address the user needs and goals. When connecting your solutions with user needs and goals, you can use this framework. To achieve a goal or to address a user need, I've decided to do X. I've considered Y as an alternative, but it doesn't serve this need as well as X because of the reason. In comparison to our current solution, X provides a better experience because of, and here you put the benefit. The key here is to mention the common concerns and other options you've considered and then explain why you've chosen a given solution, especially if there is an obvious alternative that you expect people to ask about. It will establish trust in your process and also give you cleaner feedback because you've already addressed common concerns in advance. It's also important to stick to the rule of show, don't tell. Whenever possible, use mockups to explain your points. People are way more receptive to visuals and they will understand and remember them better. Of course, it needs to be within reason. You cannot explain and show every single alternative, but only the strongest one. If you would like to learn more about presenting your designs and explaining your decision-making process, I recommend reading Articulating Design Decisions. The last step during the presentation is to ask for feedback. You need to define what feedback you're looking for and point people to where they should leave it. I would like to share some good practices with you on how to do it so that you gather high-quality feedback and manage your team's expectations. Encourage honesty. Mention that you're looking for an honest feedback and that your team's insights are extremely valuable. There are no right or wrong answers, and angles coming from outside of the design team will help you build better design and are highly appreciated. Set the deadline. I can't emphasize this enough. You need to make it clear until when you're waiting for feedback. Usually it will be between 2 to 3 days after the design review. After this time, any feedback left will not be taken into consideration. You want to avoid going back and forth and replying to feedback after you've already made your decision and your team has moved on. Close to this date, you can send a reminder to all your reviewers that its deadline is coming. Define focus and scope. Mention which areas of the design you want them to focus on and which ones should be omitted. Also, make sure to remind them what is the level of fidelity of this design and where you are in the project. In general, it will help them calibrate their design to the level of detail required. Inform about the next steps. Set clear expectations that the entire feedback will be analyzed, but not everything will be implemented. You will make a final call as a designer. It doesn't mean that the left out pieces were not important because they actually helped you come to the conclusion. You want to also avoid design by committee, where you're looking for 100% buy-in from everyone in the team and you're taking all the feedback into consideration. It will kill your progress. Your work doesn't end at presenting the design and gathering feedback. Now you need to implement it and follow up with the reviewers. Keep track of the changes you're making. Prepare the before and after comparison so people can see what has changed side by side. I usually add it to Figma as a separate page or as a separate area in the existing file. Follow up. Send an update about the changes to all the reviewers. The worst mistake that you can make is to gather feedback and then disappear. People need to feel appreciated and see value in leaving feedback in the future. I recommend recording a quick loom where you walk them through the changes. It's the easiest to consume and the most time effective. Now let's talk about some common mistakes to avoid when presenting your designs during a design review. Mistake number 1 is focusing too much on design details. For the most part, your presentation should focus on the high-level problem that you're solving and explaining how your design addresses it. Dive deeper into the details only if it's something that you're struggling with and looking for feedback on. Remember to give enough high-level context to the reviewers so that they can understand the nuances. Mistake number 2 is excluding a part of the audience unintentionally. Avoid using jargon or referring to situations and terms known only to your team. I personally discovered that I need to be really aware of it, especially when working for a long time with one team. Not everyone in the company knows how you name the latest feature or what is your latest data that you're referring to. In general, it's the best idea to just use a simple language and visuals understandable for all the stakeholders. And mistake number 3 is being defensive. Be open to constructive criticism and feedback. At the end of the day, this is what you need from the design review. The goal is to find the best solution, not to defend your original idea. In conclusion, presenting UX design work requires preparation and great communication. By following those 3 steps before, during, and after the review and avoiding common mistakes, you will prepare a really compelling presentation. With time, design reviews will become your favorite activity because they unblock you, let you make exponential progress, and let you grow as a designer. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.